Welcome to the Nevis newscast for Thursday, June 25th, 2020. I'm Fredicia Liburd. Nurses in Nevis can expect to receive their adjusted salaries shortly. That is according to Premier and Minister of Health, the Honourable Mark Brantley.
We made a commitment that we would regularize pay scales for our nurses. The media may be aware that there has been some difficulty with the different qualifications now that are required for nursing that have been introduced. Some nurses have been there and are qualified by virtue of their long years of service. Others have come and are qualified by virtue of their formal education. And there were certain disparities. We had disparities as well associated with, of course, the fact that in Nevis we had such a shortage of nurses that we had to bring back some retired nurses, and the question was, how did you compensate them? The cabinet in Nevis has been meeting on this for some time. We had come to a decision. We then stayed our hand to allow the federal cabinet to come to a determination. They then came to a determination and proceeded to implement, and we were not yet able to implement because, of course, the nurses are our responsibility financially.
On Thursday, June 25th, Premier Brantley gave the assurance that the matter is being finalized and nurses in Nevis should benefit from the regularized salary scales shortly.
I have said to the people at Finance that I would want to be able to offer that to them by next month. And so we hope that the nurses who have been on the front line throughout this ordeal, that they will take some comfort in that.
Premier and Minister of Health, the Honourable Mark Brantley. Premier the Honourable Mark Brantley, in response to a question posed at his Thursday, June 25th, press conference, spoke to plans for the Vance W. Amory International Airport. Premier Brantley is the Minister of Tourism, the Nevis Island Administration, and the Minister of Civil Aviation in the federal government.
BNL Enterprises had proposed a very ambitious project to create what is called a transportation hub here on Nevis. That was the project that was being discussed. During this period, we have written to BNL to say that we would not wish to continue with that project of that scale. And what we are now proposing to do at the Vance Amory International Airport is a much reduced scale of project. We've asked them if they're so minded to participate in that, where we would want to do some work there to make the airport more viable for private jet traffic and for regional traffic in particular, rather than what was anticipated, which was to create an international hub to bring flights, long-haul flights from Europe, etc. We thought that given the circumstances now and the uncertainty associated with travel going forward, that would no longer be a wise course. And so we are in discussions with them to scale back what it is they had proposed and to bring other partners into play as well to assist us with a smaller version of what we had initially anticipated.
He expounded on the idea of the scaled-back project for the airport.
What we now intend to do is to have a private jet facility and, of course, a better facility to accommodate the regional traffic, Liats and the Seaborns, etc., and what they call the regional jets, which can take, say, 100 people or so from, say, a port like Miami. So we are looking at that. We are seeing the hotel sector, the potential for hotels chartering, particularly the big hotels like Four Seasons, that groups could charter. And so we are saying that if we can get that done, then they can charter directly to Vance Amory as opposed to having to land on our sister island of St. Kitts. So we're looking at those possibilities to do that project. And as I said, we have so far been able to get some others on board to buy into that particular vision. And so we hope to be able to have plans that we can unveil very shortly.
Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley. Nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis who are requesting to be repatriated to the Federation will be subject to the terms and conditions of quarantine issued by the Ministry of Health. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws outlined those terms at the National EOC COVID-19 briefing on Wednesday, June 24th.
If you are overseas and you wish to return home, you must send a letter or an email of application to the Chief Executive Officer of SCASPA requesting same, and you provide the details of your charter, because I must say that our ports remain closed. And then once permission is granted, you will be provided this information. So once you would have returned to the Federation, you would automatically go into quarantine at a government-designated quarantine site. And for now, that site is located in the Fort Lands area.
Persons in quarantine will be monitored by the local public health team for symptoms of COVID-19. According to Dr. Laws, a cost is attached to the accommodation.
You will be in quarantine for 14 days, and the cost for that duration is US $500 for 14 days. Yeah, please note the cost, US $500 for the 14-day period, and this cost is to be borne by the incoming traveler. Now, at the end of your quarantine period, that's day number 14, you will be sampled, and your sample will be sent to our local next generation lab for processing. Again, there is a cost to that. The cost is US $100. Now, the incoming air traveler is also responsible for providing your own meals and essentials, including laundry. And please note, your local relatives are welcome and are encouraged to assist you with your meals and your laundry.
On day 14, persons who test negative for COVID-19 will be discharged from quarantine. Persons who test positive will be placed into isolation under medical management. Still to come, Prime Minister Harris announces the benefits to the regularization of STEP workers. The details right after this break.
Do you still have EC 1 and 2 cent coins? If you do, then you have until the end of this month, 30th June, to spend them, exchange, or deposit them at your commercial bank. After 30th June, you will not be able to use your 1 and 2 cents as they will no longer be legal tender. Find them, spend them, exchange, or deposit them at your commercial bank. Act now and receive value for your 1 and 2 cent coins by 30th June.
Welcome back. The non-governmental organization NGO coalition that observed the recent general election in St. Kitts and Nevis has reported that the voting process was free and fair and free from fear. The coalition comprised representatives from the St. Kitts Christian Council, the St. Kitts Evangelical Association, the Nevis Christian Council, the Nevis Evangelical Association, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce. The members traveled throughout St. Kitts and Nevis on June 5, 2020, visiting various polling stations and observing the subsequent ballot counting. During a briefing on Wednesday, June 24, 2020, at the headquarters of the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, copies of the NGO Coalition final report of the Election Observation Mission were made available for public consumption. Mario Philip, a representative of the Nevis Christian Council and the Nevis Evangelical Association, read the executive summary from the final report. He noted that the activities on polling day met the commitments and standards which have come to be expected and associated with democratic elections for the process to be described as free and fair and free from fear. The report added that voters were deeply committed to casting their votes, and the polling was conducted in an atmosphere of peace and non-violence. Concerns were expressed about several organizational and administrative deficiencies. However, the report stated that the cases did not impact the will of the majority of the electorate. Elvin Bailey, supervisor of elections, thanked the NGO coalition for its service to the country. He singled out the faith-based institutions for once again allowing their facilities to be used as polling stations, as has been done in previous election cycles. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris, said that the benefits to the regularization of Skills Training Empowerment Program, STEP workers, are that they would now be able to get job letters for the purposes of acquiring visas and to take lending institutions while also being included for the pensionable consideration. Dr. Harris announced this during the Leadership Matters Virtual Forum series on June 23rd. The Prime Minister said regularization means that they will now become part of the permanent working staff or employee class of the government. He highlighted that this means then that when you go to the bank with a letter saying that you are working on STEP, there is no need for the financial institution to say STEP is not really a job or STEP is for a finite time, and we cannot rely upon that you have no status. We are now giving you status. We now would be able to produce your job letters for you to take or send off to the U.S. Embassy as evidence that you are at work. He also said that he and his team are in discussion with the National Insurance Company, which covers all government employees, to ensure that those benefits in due time be made available to the STEP workers. That's it for this edition of the Nevis Newscast. On behalf of all of us here at the Department of Information, I'm Fredicia Liebert. Thank you for viewing.